Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn and today I want to recap the Spellbinders 2022 Advent Calendar. So if you are new to my channel, I actually created a tag with each of the 24 gifts in the Spellbinders Advent Calendar, and I'm filming this video, one, to recap all of my projects, but also to show and recap all of the Advent Calendar goodies, so that if you're watching this around October or so, September, October of 2023, if, crossing my fingers, Spellbinders releases another Advent Calendar next year, and it's released at around the same time that this year's calendar was released, you might be curious to know, is this good value for money? And in my opinion, yes. I love everything that we got. Day one was the mailbox. And this is a mini version of a larger sized mailbox that was released earlier this year. And that was one of the things that I kind of saw as a thread through all of the gifts, where a lot of what we got, they were kind of, the best of 2022, in the sense, for me anyways, that there were some things that were similar to previous releases, but it wasn't exactly the same. So even if you bought that previous release, so I have the large version of this mailbox, but look at how cute the small version is, and it's something still a little bit different. So that was behind day one's door, and here I used just some papers from Santa Lane. So throughout my tags, I tried to use Santa Lane, and I think Winter Wonderland was another one that I used quite a bit in terms of my pattern papers. Day two, we got a stamp set, and it's really, really adorable. You'll see that some portions are actually sort of notched out, or they look like they're missing. And the reason for that is so that you can actually stamp these where that flower butts up against maybe another petal, and that way you don't have overlapping stamps, but they can sort of still look like one flower is in front of the other. And then once you get the sense for that, you can really use that however you like. It doesn't necessarily have to butt up against another petal. It can butt up against these leaves too. So really, really fun. And again, a little bit reminiscent to, I think it was one of the clubs, actually, the stamp clubs. So that was day two. Day three, we got this set of border dies. So I cut, well, one is a border die where it only cuts the border. So I gave my tag a nice shaped edge at the bottom here, and then the other is more of a border strip. So I just cut out multiple strips, and out of different colors or shades of purple, and did a little bit of an ombre. I also did some inking in a bit of an ombre as well with my oxide inks, and because oxide inks take a moment to dry, I clear heat embossed this entire panel. So a little bit hard to see on camera, but there's a little bit of a glossy shine to it, and it feels pretty sturdy because that extra enamel from the embossing powder, once it's melted, does make it a little bit more structured. So that was day three. Day four, this is awesome. I love this font. I've seen it before, and so I know I have words that will match that font. And these aren't itty bitty either. So my tag is 2.5 inches wide by 4.25 tall. So your standard A2 size card would be 4.25 wide. So it would be the width of the how tall my tag is, and then it would be 5.5 tall. So we got the happy birthday sentiment with the bubble or the shadow layer. That was day 4. Day 5, we got an embossing folder. So that's this one here. And it's a nice striped one. So you can see I've just embossed just that red panel there. And these are from Winter Wonderland. So some of the stickers that we got. And that as one of the things that you could purchase, because that one was not a kit. Santoline was a kit. Winter Wonderland was more a la carte. Then let's see, we have day 6, and day 6 was the gnome, which is super adorable. One of my favorites, if not my absolute favorite. So the gnome is how you assemble it. It's very, very similar to some of the other gnomes that came out. So there was one gnome that was hanging by an ornament. There was another gnome that you could build a tree with. So you can kind of mix and match between them now, because I think they have different designs on their hats and whatnot. And this one includes a little string and the star balloon that he can be holding. So that was day 6. Day 7, we have a set of stencils. So I created that bokeh effect. So there's a set of 3 stencils, and they are square, I think about 2 inches or so. More than that. I guess more like 3 inches by 3 inch. And so there's 3 in the set, and they have different size polka dots. So you can use them individually, you can mix them up. What I did here was I did an ombre from pink to purple with my Distress Oxide inks. Gave it a moment to dry, and then using a white pigment ink stenciled through the stencils. And so I just started with the smaller dots closer to the top. I made them a little bit more dense, and then towards the bottom a little bit less dense. And with the largest dots, I made them more dense at the bottom and put barely any up at the top, just to have that a little bit of variation there. So that was day 7. Day 8, we got another die set. So this one was the hearts. So this is 2 dies, one that cuts out the larger heart. And then the second die plate, it does have a complete outside cutting edge. But in addition to that, it cuts apart the smaller heart so that you get 6 sections that you can piece back together, plus a 7th section at the bottom here. So that I thought was kind of cute. And then this banner I took from one of the club kits to get my sentiment. That was day 8. Day 9, I made a shaker tag, and that was because we got confetti sequins. Not sequins because it doesn't have the hole in the center. So got some embellishments. That was the number. I don't know if this is going to be sold individually or outside of the advent, but if it is, that's the item number on there. And so that was day 9. Day 10, we have a set of dies that are some florals. So that's this set right here. So we've got some large flowers. There's a large, medium, and a small. And then you even have this sort of stem or sprig here that has some leaves, and then you can even layer on top of that 2 smaller flowers, which you do have the dies for. And then there's that little die plate there. That's all the centers of the flowers. And then you have an individual leaf die too. So this, actually, what I was going for with this was to kind of replicate the packaging of the advent calendar. Not exactly, but the concept, it was similar, where they just had your mailbox, which was from day one, just overflowing with some florals, and then I stuck some of the extra envelopes that I had left over when I made that card. The sentiment, I think I again took that from a club kit. So that was day number 10. This is day 11, which is now, because I made tags, I didn't really use day 11 to the coolest extent that the die set actually is. So we have the banner shape here, which I did use. And then there's 3 debossing plates for 3 different sentiments. We've got hello there, it's your day, and sending hugs. But then what's really cool is there's this extra die here, which has a fishtail end, and it looks a little bit fat on this one end here. And the reason for that is that it actually can be added as a tail to this piece of your banner and give the effect or the look of this wrapping around and then, bending back on itself. So you can do, tail ends, top and bottom. But because my tag is, this is already wider than my tag, so you can tell these are not small dinky dies. These are going to be they're a nice size. They're going to be very usable on cards, on tags, whatever your project is. So I think that's really cool. I just didn't get a chance to use that because it's already, the sentiment banner itself is already so wide on my tag. But I think it's really cool though that they included that. So that was day 11. Day 12, really, really darling. This is the cardinal bird. So here you have the dies for all of that. So you can layer this up. Look how many layers you get here. So we've got the belly, and you don't have to use all of these pieces. So you can really customize your bird to look however you like. And there's the little accent around the eye and cheeks. So you have that piece. You've got the beak. You've got the tail. 2 pieces that you can layer for the wing here, so lots of different texture, because you can see it cuts out some details, actually cuts it out, but then there's also deboss line detailing in there as well. And then you also have the flower, so you've got the stem and the flower head and center as separate dies too. And then there again, I used that same banner from the previous day, and here I used hello there. These debossing sentiments work really well with your mirror cards and specialty cards. They just it just pops so well. So that's a bit of like holographic mirror card there. Then on day 13 we have a stamp set. So that's this one here. So you have make a wish, and then you have 3 sub sentiments. So what I did was I know a lot of people cut their stamps. I don't like to do that. So what I did was just inked up make a, stamped it once on the top line, and then inked up wish by itself and stamped it on the second line. And then you see how because you're awesome, it's on the stamp straight across, but I actually curved it to match my sentiment banner here. And you can do that with any stamp. It doesn't ruin it. You take it off, give it some time to kind of rest, and it'll go straight back to its natural straight orientation. But when you put it on your acrylic block, or if you're using a stamping platform, on the door of the platform, you can just kind of bend it a little bit here and there to try to match. I didn't match it 100%. It's a little bit off on this end, but close enough, and it looks pretty good. So that was day number 13 stamp set. Day number 14, we got another set of florals. So here we have two kind of sprigs or stems, and then we have a second die, this one right here. That die has the three flower heads that you would layer behind this one. So die cut that once and you get 1, 2, 3. So you get all three for both combined for both stems. So one of the stems only has one flower and the other stem has two. And I just layered up a couple of them, splattered it the black cardstock with a little bit of gold flecks just to give it some, extra little detail. I just kind of did a messy nest of some gold thread, and again onto some gold mirror card. I think this would be the third sentiment that came with the banners. It's your day. And the papers are again, I think that one's from Winter Wonderland, I think. So that is day 14. Then for day 15, we got another embossing folder. So that's this one here. And I don't know if it's visible, but it does have sort of a little bit of a floral, maybe it's more like concentric circular design. But what I did with this one was I actually inked up the embossing folder with some clear Versamark ink and did a bit of a letterpress technique. So I ran it through and then poured some just clear embossing powder over that and then heat embossed it. So it gives it some extra shine and extra texture and also some thickness too, because again that embossing powder creates a little bit of an enamel finish, and with pretty much nearly the entire strip covered in it, it gives it some nice heft. And then I used the happy birthday sentiment, which we got earlier. I've used that a couple times. I used the flower from the previous day, and then these are confetti embellishments that were purchased separately. They have a little bit of hollow shine to them, and I think it just matched the purple really well, so that's why I used it. A really nice bright tag. Day number 16. Oh, I love this one. This might be my favorite tag actually. So we have and I think I have the full alphabet die in this font. I think it's the Be Bold alphabet, and I love that font. So we got a set of 2-word dies, for and you, with their bubble layer. Now when you die cut, here's what I love. When you die cut, the die itself is one die for the word, but the letters in that word are not connected. So you can do what I've done here, where I've kind of just die cut each of these out of different colored cardstock and then mixed up the colors for this rainbow effect here. And I used the smallest dot stencil that we got on a previous day from where's the ombre tag? I can't find it now, but this one here. So on day 7 we got that set of 3 stencils. So I took the smallest dot and then I stenciled some rainbow colors going top to bottom, and you don't actually need a lot of ink, so I just inked it. I did create a little bit of a bokeh, but with the same size stencil, but instead of using like a white to lighten it, I just sort of brushed as much of my stencil brush to get the lighter pinks. So the darker, more crisp lines are right after kind of initially inking up my stencil brush. And the small stencil brush that I used, it's really nice. It's got dense but very soft bristles. And so I would ink up, go in and you would get the nice, really highly pigmented, clean lines. And then I would shift the stencil, and then just keep on brushing. And that has two effects. One, it gives you the nice, softer, lighter polka dots. So a little bit of that bokeh effect. And then it virtually cleans off your brush too. So this brush, I just kept on using it. I mean, I did wet it a little bit, wipe it on a paper towel until there was no more color coming off of it, and then continue working my way down the rainbow. But by going in with one color and then just shifting the stencil, and even if it overlapped, not a problem. That makes it even better. And just continuing to brush whatever remaining ink was on here, just continuing to stencil through it, and that's how I got that effect. In my shorts videos, they're only maximum 60 seconds, so I can't really show everything or describe everything, and so that's the other reason why I wanted to film this video, so that I can talk through it a little bit more. But really like how this turned out, and I've never actually made a background like that before, so I might actually need to do that on a card and in a larger kind of scale. So I'll definitely revisit that technique. But then, so following the polka dots, I used the some matching-ish colors in different color cardstock, and I just happened to have some confetti sequins in very nearly the same colors too. I actually started with the sequins and then found the inks to match, because I have fewer colors of sequins, and so that just worked out really well. It's one of my favorite tags. And I love the font as well. I didn't use the bubble layer, the shadow layer, because I knew I would be reconfiguring the letters. And the bubble layer, you have to use it in that configuration for it to make sense. So, and that's great to have. So I love that we get them both. But I do love that the letters are not connected, so that you can really configure them however you like. And for this tag, that I took pretty good advantage of that. Then for day 17, I cannot believe that we got a set of nested shape dies. So kind of amazing. Now, in retrospect, when I was looking at this afterwards, actually when I was taking a picture of it, I thought that it might have made more sense to actually turn this upside down, because I actually I think well, the brand that I know of, but I'm sure a lot of other companies make double-walled kind of espresso cups or latte cups that are in this shape but upside down like that. And it would have been really cool given the pattern paper that I chose. And this paper isn't from Spellbinders, but I just really liked the colors of it. And here again, I used the For You word dye with the bubble layer, but what I did that it is a little bit different, again, because the letters are not connected, you do have the freedom to do this, where with the O, you can see it's I tilted it a little bit. So if For You is straight like that, instead of the middle part of the O being upright like this, I just tilted it for something a little bit different, a little bit fun. And when the tag is upright, the O's are actually what looks like it's upright, where everything else looks like it's slanted. So that was sort of the thought process behind the design of this tag. But looking at it after the fact, I kind of wish I had put this piece here, the sort of arch here, upside down instead of, but naturally I don't know why I see it this way as being the right side up, but of course you can use that in whatever orientation that you want. And it's a lot of nested dies, so it's actually, let's see, 1 2 3 4 7 dies. So I can't believe it, 7 nested dies in a advent calendar, so pretty amazing. Day number 18. This is another shaker because we did get sequins. And so that is the item number. Again, I don't know if these are getting sold outside of the event, but that was what was printed on the little baggie. So I wanted to make sure I recorded that just in case this is going to be for sale. And if I run out and I really love the color, I want to be able to purchase it again. So here I used the nested arch size from the previous day. I cut an aperture out of this paper, which I believe is from Winter Wonderland. I combined two, so I skipped one size. So I think this is the largest, and then, two sizes down to create the frame. And then I just made a little bit of a shaker, and I used again that same banner with the deboss sentiment. And the paper itself is actually foiled, so there's a little bit of gold foiling on the paper, so all of the colors coordinate really well, from the red to the dark navy. In the back of my shaker is just a little bit of specialty card, so really pretty. Like that one. That was day 18. Day 19 we got a stamp set, and this is one that's a little bit similar to the Make-A-Wish, in the sense of I think the fonts are the same. So you have the same bold kind of main sentiment, and then you have 3 sub-sentiments to go along with it. So I thought that was kind of cool, because then if you want, you could maybe mix and match between the two. And this is a completely flat tag, so right onto my tag base here, I stamped out congratulations. Now these stamps, I will say, I believe they are acrylic stamps and not photopolymer. So I don't know, you can maybe tell. I can definitely tell. It's a little bit wavy because it's so long. And when I put it on, I think I used an acrylic block. When I put it on the block, I wasn't really paying close attention. And being an acrylic stamp, it's not quite as, it doesn't hold its shape quite as well as a photopolymer stamp does. So it was a little bit wavy as I put my block on it, and I didn't realize that. And so I have it's a little bit wavy getting stamped on. And so that can happen. It stamps beautifully though, as you can see. That's just one impression by hand. So it does stamp beautifully, but just kind of bear that in mind. These can be a little bit bendy. And bendy is good when you want to do something like this. Makes it really easy to bend to the curve. But on these longer ones, you might want to be a little more aware of whether it's straight on or not, if that's important to you. This being the style and technique that it is, I'm not too upset by it, but I took each of the other 3 sort of the sub-sentiments, and I did second impression stamping. So I inked up, stamped onto some scrap paper, and then stamped onto my project. So it's black ink, but because it's second impression stamping, it looks gray. And some look a little bit darker than others. That's totally fine. And I think that just adds to the effect of it. So that was day 19. And then we have day 20. So this is another set of stencils. Yeah. So it's a set of 3 stencils, and kind of cool. You have this one gives you sort of the dark veins on the and the branches, I guess, or the stems. There's a second one that gives you the leaf, so I used the lighter green. And then this one gives you your flowers. So you have these flowers here, some flowers in the middle of there, and then some buds coming off of that too. So pretty cool set of stencils. And I use it again later too, but that's kind of fun. I really like the effect of the layered stencils. So this again is another flat. This is another flat right onto my tag base. So there's that as day 20. Day 21. I love this. So, oops. So day 21 was another set of, and again, this is something that is a little reminiscent of an earlier release from this year. So what were they called? I think they were the mini shapes or something like that. But they came out in multiple different shapes, and I think there was like a teardrop, diamond, etc. And you have one die that cuts just the largest kind of outline, the exact same size as this, but the second die will cut out multiple different little frames kind of. And so you can die cut that out of multiple different colors and then kind of mix and match if you want. This one also came with the these two circle dies, which you can use as the center if you're building this up as flower petals. So you have one circle, same size as the second circle, but the second circle is actually a donut. And when I see a donut like that, the first thing I think of is that's basically the mechanism that you would need to create like a dancing card or a swing card. This doesn't quite have enough weight on it to swing naturally back and forth. It kind of will, but not a ton. But you can see all the thickness of the foam there. And the idea is that what I did was I took our gnome die, and recall the gnome has one die that cuts out the entire shape of the gnome from top of his hat to the bottom of his feet. And I took one of these circle dies. They're on the outside, they're both the same shape, so you can use either one. And I just cut a hole right through that first layer. So there's you can kind of see it there. There's a layer of that white layer of the gnome. It has a hole cut through the center right here, where his nose would be, kind of. And then I cut a couple more times the donut shape, and I put a little foam dot. And I actually had to trim down my foam dot because that center of the donut is pretty small. So you want something smaller than that so that you can just hang this donut onto that foam dot and have it freely swing back and forth. But we need to attach our gnome to it somehow. And so that's where you see that pink washi. So that is washi where I've attached the donut to this white layer, the bottom layer of my gnome. But once we have that hanging on there, we need to cap off the foam dot so that you can't just take the gnome off. So you can see me moving this a little bit, and if I push it all the way down, you can maybe see a disc. So that's this full circle here that I've attached to the top of the foam dot, so that the donut is hanging onto, and that caps it so that it locks it onto the tag. It's really fun. So, because I'm always saying when I make the swinging cards, Spellbinders puts out dies that are created to be dancing, the dancing mechanic. And every time I put one of those together, I always say, well, you really just need a donut. and you can make your own, or if you have something that looks exactly like that, you can make anything have that swinging or dancing mechanism to it. And so then I just created another more presentable gnome with all the layers and the colors, and so that's how I have that swinging mechanism. And the actual die from the day is this set right here, and I just took the smallest the innermost petal, the smallest petal, and I made a flower for him to hold. And the stem of the flower is actually the balloon string that came with the gnome. So I thought that was really cute. I just wanted to show something different, and because I'm always going on in when I'm making one of those dancing cards about this donut piece. When I saw that die, I knew I wanted to. That's what I wanted to make, and it's I had already started the series of just shorts, and so there wasn't really a way to explain what it was I was doing in the short, but there you have it. So that's day 21. And for day 22, we got another packet of sequins. And this is the number on that one, 271. It's really nice. It's got, I don't know what color this would be called, because sometimes it has a little bit of an AB finish, so tilted in some lights it looks a little greenish, but then I guess it's maybe a mauve because it's somewhere in between like a dusty rose and a little bit of lavender. So I thought it would be cute as centers for my flowers, and I just wanted to also show with the stenciling that you can kind of create your own pattern. Of course you can use it the way it was designed. So the way it was designed, it's kind of got the branches going both ways like this. So what I did was I just masked off a portion of the stencil and then did a little bit going that way, masked off another portion, and then had this branch coming that way. And so you can always, change up your stencil designs that way and get like a different little configuration of, in this case, florals. And then I used the same color ink as what I used on the flowers, and this time I used the Make-A-Wish, kind of the way it was designed, so that it's all in a straight line. So that is day 22. And then we have day 23. This one's really fun. So day 23 was the thank you. Oh, here it is. So you have the thank you word dies again with their shadow layer or bubble layer. Love that. And what I did, a little bit different way to use an embossing folder. So I took the embossing folder that we got from day number 5, and what I did was on the folder I took a brayer and loaded my brayer up with some ink, rolled that ink onto the inside of the embossing folder, and then I just put this paper on it, and then I took a clean brayer and then rolled over top the back of the paper. So if my embossing folder is like this, that's why this one might look a little bit stained, but on the side where the stripes are raised, so took my brayer, inked it up. Here's a brayer if you're not familiar with the tool. Pretend this is my ink pad. So then I inked it up. Oh, I just got a little ink here. Inked it up. So got ink all the way around the brayer. And then I ran it down this embossing folder and inked up the raised bits of the folder. Then I put my paper on top of here, and I took a clean brayer. So let's say this is on top of there. And then I just brayered over top, and just to get a nice even pressure. So I didn't actually emboss this panel at all. I just inked it. I used my embossing folder as if it was, let's say, like a stamp. and this is glued down. So this vellum is just a bit of leftover from an earlier project. This was a really gorgeous, I think it was a 3D embossing folder of snowflakes. It was gorgeous. It was a beautiful earlier release. And I just had a bit left over. So I thought it would be really fun to cut it to the tag shape and just mute, this background a little bit so that we can read our sentiment over top of it, but then also add a little bit of texture, a little bit of pattern, some of that frostiness, and just a different look. So you've got the striped pattern, and then you've got the snowflake raised pattern. So just a different fun way to use an embossing folder as basically as a stamp, and you don't even have to treat it as an embossing folder that you put through your machine. You just use it to, if you like the pattern, you just use it as a stamp. So I thought that was fun, just something a little different. So even though these are small projects, small tags, I was still trying to kind of do different things and use these items in a different way. It worked out, because I wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't know if these would be like really teeny tiny stamps and dies, and having to do one a day. The tag project worked really well because it is a smaller canvas, so it's a little bit more manageable as a project. But some of these dies, they're a good size. So the width of this tag is 2.5 inches. So this truck is wider than 2.5 inches, and this is day 24. So we got the truck, we have the wheels. So here's some more donuts. These are connected though, so you wouldn't be able to do what I did here, where I use the circle to cut out of my gnome so that I can reattach. I could have a gnome that basically has that small circle cut out of it by just taping them back together. Plus this has the solid circle, which I use to cap off the foam dot, and so you don't have that there. But if you got the advent calendar, you have this set already. So it's okay that those are connected, and it's a little bit more convenient to actually cut both of your wheels out at the same time. And then on top of that, you do get the present as well. And I used the thank you from the previous day. I don't know that I necessarily did, but I tried to use everything more than one time, just so that, you could kind of see it used on different projects and hopefully in different ways as well. Here you can get a better look at that letterpress technique. So the embossing folder, it's not, you can see it doesn't stretch across the entire width. So you do see that seam towards, the middle there, because I had to do it twice. So basically I did everything that I described, inked one portion of it, then inked up the folder again, and then I lined it up so that the stripes would continue. And it looked as continuous as possible. I don't think you can really help too much that little bit of overlap, although you could maybe try to be really precise. But I think with this technique, the idea is that you're not going to get super precise stamping. It's not a stamp. It's so you can see how distressed it is on the edges and everything, and I think that's just part of that feel, and so that's kind of the look you're going to get. I don't think you're going to get a super clean edged stamp, because it's not a stamp. So if you're looking for that, maybe look for a stamp instead. But if you're looking to just kind of use your embossing folders in a different way, I think this is just a really fun way to do that. And so that was day 24. So those are all of the tags that I've created and all of the goodies that came in the Spellbinders 2022 advent calendar. And I didn't make you wait to let you know that I do find this fantastic value for money, so I will definitely be buying it again next year. I almost did an unboxing of this because I did open it before December 1st, just so that I could make sure to get projects done in time to be posting every day. And I didn't even, I recorded and edited an unboxing video, but I never released it because it sold out so fast. And I wrote into Spellbinders to ask if they would be restocking it, and they said they won't. And so I didn't want to release an unboxing. The only point of releasing an early unboxing is because if you are like I can be sometimes, I want to know exactly what I'm getting just so that I can see, am I going to be getting good value for money? And I was more than happy to try the Spellbinders Advent out, sight, unseen. But I know not everybody likes to shop that way and take that gamble, especially with, something. I wouldn't say this was expensive. I think it was maybe on the order of $40-ish. I don't really remember off the top of my head. But I didn't find it to be like super unreasonably expensive for the gamble. And so I have zero, regrets getting it. I'm actually really astounded by the value that we're getting and all of the dies that we're getting. But next year, my hope is that they actually order more stock, because this was the first year they were doing it. Maybe they didn't know, what to expect in terms of, whether they would sell out or whether they would have like a lot of inventory left over. And it went up for pre-order, and I think it sold out super duper fast. And there probably wasn't enough time to do another production run of it, and that's why they didn't restock it. So my hope is that next year, they order a ton more inventory than they did, and they let you pre-order it, early again, like in the October timeframe, I think is when it went up for pre-order, and then it arrived like early November. And this year, by then it was already sold out, but I'm hoping next year that it doesn't sell out, and what I'll do is actually post a full spoiler alert, disclaimered video that is an unboxing of everything. And that way, I hope this video helps you to make a purchasing decision if we're at that point of if we're at that point in 2023 that you're watching this. But if not, I hope that I'll also have an unboxing video of the actual 2023 Advent, which I do hope Spellbinders continues to make. So that's my goal, and next year I might do tags again, or my next thought is, if not tags, maybe memory decks cards. That's another fun little project. So it'll be one of the two, tags or memory decks. If you have a preference, let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much. Until next time, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye.